What's up you guys, welcome back and welcome if you're new. In today's video, we're going to be installing the IRONMAN4x4 stubby bumper onto my 2020 Wrangler. So if you guys are interested on how to install it, and of course I'm going to give you guys the details, make sure to stay tuned. Let's now get into the video. Alright you guys, so before we get into the installation, I'm going to show you just exactly what I have right here. So if you see right here, we're going to have the IRONMAN4x4 stubby bumper. So if you guys do want to get it, I'll make sure to link it in the description box below. A cool thing about this bad boy right here, it is kind of versatile. It does come with this bar, so that way you can add a light bar, or if you don't want to add it, you can go ahead and leave it off because it does have plugs up top. I do have the IRONMAN4x4 20-inch light bar. Once again, this is an option. You don't have to get it on yours. Another thing that I did actually add on, which is an option, is the Ironman Monster Winch, which is a 9,500 pound synthetic rope winch. Cool thing about this one right here, it is a wireless one, so that way you can be away from the car if you ever need to use your winch. Something you're gonna notice right behind me is I already have my front bumper off. I've been running the Jeep like this for a little while now, and if you guys do need a video on how to remove your stock bumper to get to this next step, which we're going to do, I'll make sure to link it in the description box below because I do have a video on how to remove the stock JL bumper. The first thing you're going to need as far as tools is going to be a 16mm socket. I did want to let you guys know, just in case you were curious, on my Jeep it is a 2020 Jeep Wrangler Sport S JL. So this bumper that we're installing today, it does work on a JK, it does work on a JL and a JT. So keep that in mind just in case you guys were curious. I do want to let you guys know there is one difference from the Sport S to the Rubicon, which I'll show you guys once we cross that road. The reason you need to get your 16mm socket is you guys are going to notice there's a bolt on this side, and then if you look over here on the other side, there's also going to be a size 16mm socket. On this side, I've already loosened them. As you guys can see, the bracket's almost off. So let's go ahead and just start on that process. First one down, and then I'll come on this side and also remove that. Now that we're done with the passenger side, we'll move back to the driver's side and do the same steps with that same socket. For this next step, what you're going to need is going to be a panel removal tool or a flathead screwdriver. There's going to be a couple clips that you're going to need to remove to get this grill out of the way. Now keep in mind, you only need to remove the grill if you're going to be installing a winch today. If you guys do not plan on installing a winch or a light bar or anything like that, it's not necessary. But if you guys are, it's going to make your life a lot easier. All right, you guys, so for the first thing with your panel removal tool, to remove the grill, there's going to be 6 clips all along the top. So there's going to be one here, one there, one here, there, and right there. It's going to be super simple. All you really do is go ahead and get inside of that little edge there, pop up on it. Some may take a little messing with, but they will pop right up. Just like that, pull up on it, and the whole clip should remove. So on some of them, the bottom end might get stuck inside. If we come across that, I'll show you how to remove it, but it's easy. So there's the second one. So for example, on this one, you can see only the top end came off. What you do is now you go underneath and you want to pop that off. You need to make sure you remove both of the clips because then it will not, the grill will not come out. Super simple. This is probably going to be the easiest part of the install. Make sure you have your day set out just in case. Now that you removed all the clips, up next is actually removing the grill. That part is also very simple. You pull back on it just like that, and then it's held in with clips at the bottom. So you just got to kind of play with it, and it should release it just like that. So now that it's off, we can move to the next step. If you are going to be installing your winch, go ahead and now get your winch plate and come right over here. You want to go ahead and grab your winch plate just like this, how I have it. And you're going to want to go ahead and go and slide it right in. This is going to be a tight fit, so take your time with it. And then you curve it right over. One thing to take note is you see there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 cutouts there. Those are going to align with the holes that are on this side. So essentially, once you slide it over, that's where the bolts will go through. So now that you have the winch plate in its spot, like I said, this is only if you purchase the winch, then you have to install the plate. But if you didn't get the winch, don't worry about this. Skip this step. One thing to take note on, if you guys do have a newer JL like mine, but it's a Rubicon, keep in mind, if you guys do have the sway bar disconnect in the front, it's going to have the sway bar module somewhere in this area, and it might be in the way of the plate. It'll still work though, so don't worry. It's just gonna rub slightly. So keep that in mind when you guys are installing it if you run into that issue. Now we're moving on to the hardware side to install the winch plate. I wanted to show you guys right here on the table is what's gonna come inside of the box. What I did here was basically split everything that came in there just to make it a little bit more organized. And I did want to let you guys know this bumper does work for a JL, a JT, and a JK. So what Ironman 4x4 does is they actually provide you all the bolts for every single Jeep, so that way you guys can accommodate to what you have. As far as for us, we're doing it on a JL, so let's go ahead and now get to the next step. So what we're going to need from this hardware is going to be the 2 red brackets. We're going to need these 2 long bolts. We're going to need 2 of the bigger split washers, which I grabbed from here, and we're going to need 2 of the big washers. So that's going to be the hardware. For the other side, we're going to need the 2 flange nuts, and it's going to be the only 2 big nuts that have the flange on it, so keep that in mind. So let's move on to the Jeep. Now with the recovery points, I did want to mention these are going to be site specific. So the way you're going to know which is by this plate here. So if you look at it down the line, you're going to notice this actual plate, if you see it here, is moved more this way, and then on this one, this plate is moved more this way. So what you're going to want, at least right now we're working on the driver's side, you're going to want the one that is moved more that way. Let me explain what I mean. So when you align it right here to the Jeep, you want this to sit more inwards. If we were to grab the one that's for the passenger side, you're going to notice it's more outwards. So I hope you can see that on the camera. So we're going to go back to the actual one, which sits more flush to the body. So now as far as the hardware, we're going to grab that big bolt. We're going to grab that big split washer. We'll put it right through. And then we're going to grab that big washer. So this is what you should have. And now, once again, with that plate there, you're going to see there's a hole. You're going to need to align it with this hole that's right here at the bottom. We're working on the driver's side. And then back here, you're going to see there's 1, 2, and 3. This bottom one is like a longer hole. That's where this bolt is going to go through. Once you feed it through, it's going to go through this right here. In this step, it's going to help if you do have a buddy. If not, it's fine. But the reason I say that is because you're going to have to play with this bolt to get it all the way through. The good thing is if you come right over here underneath, you're going to notice there's a hole right here. So that's going to allow you to see the bolt where it's directing. You're also going to need to play at the same time with the winch plate. If you're installing it, you're going to need to lift it a little bit, and there's another hole on the winch plate that you're going to have to feed it through. So this part here might take a little bit of time. Just be patient with it, and it should feed right through. Once you have it through, I'm going to show you guys from the bottom now, just to give you a better picture. So now that I have you underneath, this is where the bolt came through. This right here is the winch plate. So the bolt went right through. Now you want to go ahead and get your flange nut that I told you guys earlier, and you want to go ahead and install that. Right here, you just want to go ahead and go hand tight first, because we're going to need to move some stuff around, so you don't want to tighten this down all the way just yet. And then once you have it hand tight, like I said, doesn't need to be tight, go ahead and do the same exact steps to the passenger side. So now the next step what we're going to need is we're going to need to grab some more hardware, and we're also going to need to grab some brackets. You're going to notice there's going to be 4 of these right here, and I believe if you have a JT, this is going to be similar, but we have a JL, so you're going to want to go ahead and grab 2 of these brackets for now. And if you look right over here, there's going to be the hardware bolts. So you're going to have different sizes. You're going to have these really big ones, you're going to have some medium-sized ones, and you're going to have some small ones. You want to go ahead and right now grab 4 of the small ones, which are these. And then you want to go ahead and grab 4 of the lock washers that are going to fit it. And you're going to grab 4 washers that are going to fit it. So let's go ahead and grab that and move on to the Jeep. Now moving on to the next step. So let's go ahead and now grab one of our bolts that we grabbed, a lock washer, and then a washer. So these bad boys right here, one of them is going to go right here. And you're going to notice there's 2 holes. You're going to want to put it on the top hole. So go ahead and hand tighten it for right now. And then same thing, grab another one, grab a washer, split washer, and same thing in that same hole. Tighten that bad boy down by hand. Grab another one, same process. And if you look on this side over here, you're gonna see up top, there's gonna be a hole there, and that's where you'll put that one. And then for the last one, you'll come back over here. And it's gonna be same process up top right there. We just have them hand tight for now. All right, you guys, so just to show you, as you can see right now, they just are hand tight. All the bolts right there, right there. So the next thing we're gonna be doing is we're gonna install these plates that I told you guys to grab if you guys do have a JL. So you're gonna notice something right here. On the winch plate, there is going to be some spacing there. And over here, there's gonna be some spacing as well. So that's where we're gonna be installing these plates. So let me show you where they go exactly. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and grab one of these plates. So it's gonna go sandwiched in between the frame of here and the winch plate. So the way this goes is you're gonna see how the orientation is. So you're gonna basically drop them down into the actual bolts. It's gonna be a little bit hard to see it on camera, but in person, you'll be able to see. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna see this bottom one here. You're gonna wanna try to align it with the bolt that's going through there. You'll see it in person. And then this top one should latch onto this bolt that's on this side. So just drop it in straight forward. And then you bring it in and you make sure it aligns correctly. So those hooks should essentially hook into this top bolt, and the bottom one should hook into the bottom bolt, which you'll see in person. So now that they're there, you want to do the same thing to the opposite side. So you bring it in, you slide it forward, and then you bring it down to hook into the bolts. If you need to, go ahead and move around the winch plate, and there it is. So up next, what you want to do is now you want to go ahead and get a size 16 millimeter wrench. And we're going to go ahead and tighten this bolt down here and the bolt down on the opposite side. And now that you've tightened just the winch tray, I wanted to tell you guys the main reason on the JLs why you're putting that is because if you don't add those in, it's going to stretch out the metal and you don't want that. Those are going to act as spacers, so that way it's installed properly and everything is evenly distributed. Now that you have the winch plate tightened down, let's move on to the next step. Now that you have the winch plate tightened down, I want to let you guys know, make sure you still do not tighten down the recovery points. Reason why is because when you go to install the bumper, you're still going to need to put some bolts through here, and you're going to need to be able to move this stuff around. If you tighten it down right now and you go to install the bumper, it's not going to allow you to actually align stuff. So keep that in mind. For us, we're going to be installing a winch. I'm not going to go super in depth on how to install the winch. Inside, you're going to get a bunch of screws, washers, and nuts. And as far as right now, to put it on here, what you're going to need to do is inside the baggie, it's going to come with 2 different style nuts. So there's going to be these regular ones, and then there's going to be some nuts that are pretty big, but they're square. So the square ones, you're going to actually insert them inside of this winch here. You're going to see it in person. Of course, on camera, you're not going to be able to see it too well, but on the side of each corner, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's going to be little slots where those square nuts are going to slide into. Once you have those, you're going to need to go ahead and now grab the hardware that also came provided, which is going to be 4 of these big bolts. It came with a winch, came with 4 washers and 4 of the split washers. You want to grab your screw, grab the split washer, grab the regular washer, and then you're going to go underneath the Jeep. And what you're going to need to do for all 4 corners is you're going to need to put this bolt upwards. And the reason I said go underneath is because you'll be able to see the holes. You may need to move the winch around or play with the nut that you've pre-installed. So once you have that set up there, that bolt should just screw in. And you just want to do it by hand for now. And you want to do that same step for all 4. Let's get you close and show you what I'm talking about. Getting you guys a little closer, you can see I've already installed the nut in there, and I've also put the screw right through, hand tight. I have 3 down so far. I'm going to go ahead and now do the last one, and I'm going to show you guys how it looks from underneath. All right, you guys, so I've already placed the nut from the inside right here or underneath the truck, and you're going to see I have my bolt, my split washer, and my washer. So now I just have to align it with that nut. Now that I have all 4 hand tightened, I'm going to go ahead and now tighten these down all the way. So now we're going to connect the controller box, and we're going to go ahead and ground off the actual winch. So right here is the winch wire, which is going to go connected to the negative of the battery. As you can see, it's the thick one that came like as a single wire inside the box of the winch. So this is going to go underneath here. I had to take off that washer and that nut. This is going to be a size 13, keep that in mind. So we'll go ahead and put the black negative wire there. And then now this skinny black wire is the one that's coming off of your controller box. You're going to also put that there. So it should just slide in. Keep in mind, if I was you guys, I'd recommend connecting these when the winch is off. It'll make your life easier. After you've done that, you can go ahead and now reinstall your washer and your nut with the size 13 and tighten everything down. Washer is in. Now it's time for that nut. This might be a little bit difficult. That's why I stated it's better doing this before you install the winch onto the winch plate. Next thing we're going to do here is you're going to notice it's on engage. We're going to go ahead and hit it on disengage all the way down, just like that. And that'll let us freely spool this thing out. Reason we're doing that is grabbing on the bottom end. We're going to go ahead and go at the bottom of the bumper here. You're going to notice right here, we're going to go ahead and feed it right through. So now we're going to go ahead and place the bumper on. One thing to take note on is, of course, we did install those plastic clear washers. That just kind of helps keep it in place. If you want to make it a little even easier, you can probably grab a piece of tape and tape it over. But I don't know how you're going to take the tape off after. Up to you. You can figure that out. But that's what those things are meant for. And these bolts, if you look right over here on the cross member of the Jeep, those two top bolts are essentially going to go into here. Take note, if you end up hitting the bolt on to the side where the hole is not, the bolts are going to fall off the bumper. So just try to get someone to help you so that way you can actually align the bolts and everything goes in nice and flush. So that's why it's a little bit easier if you do get someone to help you out. So now that we have it in place, I'm going to go ahead and make sure the bolts are aligned, and then we'll explain on the hardware. All right, you guys, so as far as the hardware that you're going to need to mount the bumper onto the Jeep frame, it's going to be this here. So let me show you guys. So you're going to need to get 4 of these big bolts here, as you can see, and then you're going to need to get a total of 8 of these lock split washers that you can see here. You're going to get a total of 8 of these normal washers. As far as the bolts, the way the orientation is going to be is the split washer. It's going to go over the bolt. You're going to get the big washer just like that. So that's what you're going to want to do with the bolts. And then as far as the rest of the hardware, this is what we're going to need. It's going to be a total of 4 of these nuts and then those ones. Now we're going to go ahead and start with the bumper. So like I told you, grab all that hardware. The ones we're going to be starting with are going to be the ones with the nut, the washer, and the split washers. So coming right over here, let's show you guys. Of course, we still have the recovery hook loose. As you can see, the bolts are still out. And you're going to notice on this side here, there should be a bolt right about here. That's the one that we had pre-installed. That's on the bumper itself with that clear washer. So keep that in mind. So what we're going to be doing there is up top, we're going to put a washer. We're going to put a washer. After that, you want to go ahead and put that split washer. Then after that, you grab that nut. And what you want to do here is you just want to do it hand tight for now. Make sure you do not tighten it down all the way. All right, and now that you've done that, the next thing you're going to want to do is grab that big bolt that I told you, that split washer and that washer. With this one, what you're going to want to do is at the bottom, that's where you're going to want to go ahead and put it. This part is going to be the trickiest. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but just kind of play with everything. Align, maybe you have to move the hook a little bit, maybe you have to move around the bumper, but make sure it screws in. Same thing, don't tighten it, leave it loose. So we're going to do the same thing to the opposite side, and then once we're done, we're going to move in the center to also install those bolts. These are the ones that we just installed that I showed you on camera. Coming right over here on this side of the cross member, we're going to do the same exact steps. So up top, you might be able to see that bolt. So we're going to go ahead and put one of the washers up top. Section might be a little bit hard if your hands are big, I'm not going to lie. Get that split washer on there. And if you could see my hand, I actually have my hand through the front of the bumper. There's a hole there. So that does kind of help you out on aligning stuff. And then you want to go ahead and grab that nut and put it on top of that bolt there. Go ahead and hand tighten. Don't tighten it down all the way because you might still have to move stuff around. Leaving your hand in the front of the bumper like this, how I have mine, you want to go ahead and now move this if needed and grab the next bolt and slide it right through and do the same process. So these are going to be a size 18, and then if you come right over here, you're going to notice this one's also going to be an 18, but the one up top, let me put my finger to it, the one right here, that one is also going to be a size 18, but let me show you how to get to it because that one's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to have a long extension and we're going to put it over this bar that's right here, just like that. And you want to make sure you can reach it. And then right there, you could go ahead and connect your power tool and tighten it down. So that's what we're going to do now. All right, so like I showed you guys just from the bottom, getting a extension is going to help you guys out. Looking at it from here, that way you guys can kind of see it. It is going to be a little bit difficult. So if you do have like a swivel head one, that's going to make your life a lot easier. Unfortunately, I don't. So I'm going to have to struggle a little bit to get it in there. Now, as far as the bottom one, if you also want to do it with an extension, you can. Or another option is if you get your actual wrench. If you look down here at the bottom where my fingers are, you're going to actually get it in there to tighten it down. And you're going to actually do the same thing to the top one in case you guys don't have an extension. So I'm just kind of giving you guys different options on how to do this. That way you guys don't struggle when you're doing it at home. Now that you tighten down the bolts that I just showed you guys, which is going to be these two here and the other two on the inside, and of course the opposite side, same thing. Now we're going to focus on the mounting right here. So the bottom one is going to be a size 18, and then the top one is going to be a size 16 millimeter socket. So go ahead and tighten those down. And don't forget, the one on the bottom is also going to have a nut here. So you're going to want to go ahead and grab maybe like a wrench on this side. And then over here, you can go ahead and grab your socket. The bottom one is the one we just tightened, which was a size 18 on both sides. Now up top right here, you're going to see there's one bolt left. That's going to be a size 16. Do the same thing to the opposite side. Now that we have everything tightened down, we're going to go ahead and now put the hook onto the winch. If I was you guys, I'd recommend switching this out for like a factor 55 or something like that. But for now, since we don't have one, we're going to have to put this on. So it's super simple. So you're going to notice it's going to have like a pin in the middle. Just move it around. It should actually slide out. Just kind of play with it and it should eventually come out. You'll see right now. So I don't recommend these. These are a little dangerous. As you can see, it slipped right out. Just like that. Put it back together, just how you took it off. But once again, if I was you guys, I would recommend not running this. Get a factor 55 and it'll be a lot safer. You can go ahead and hook it right here. So now all we should have left is going to be the winch wires, the breather line, and then of course if you did get the light bar, you're going to have that wire as well. So right now, as far as the breather line, I'm just going to go ahead and stick that up here. I'll be honest, I've never worked with the winch that has a breather line, so I don't want to inform you guys too much on that. I'm just going to leave it there for now. As far as the black and the red, that's going to be your positive and negative. Just go ahead and tie that down to the battery. All right, you guys, so of course, if you did get the light bar, it's going to come with this wire here. And you're going to notice it's not going to come with any relay or anything like that. So keep that in mind. As far as, thankfully, for my Jeep, it did come with a switch panel from the factory. So all I really have to do is tap into that, which is going to be red for positive and black for negative. I'll show you guys that way, but just in case you guys don't have that switch panel like I do from the factory, you're going to have to probably buy a relay and a full-on harness through IRONMAN4x4. But as you guys can see, I mean, I'm sure you guys can find this type of harness anywhere else. So what I have to do is I'm actually going to have to extend this wire. So I have here 14 gauge wire. I'm just going to extend it so that way it reaches to the switch panel. So that's what I'm going to get going right now. Now that you finished tightening everything up, now that you guys finished wiring everything, I just connected my light bar harness. I'm not going to show you guys that because I know not every single person with a Jeep has that auxiliary switch that came from the factory. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys figure that out. There's tons of videos on YouTube to find out. So right now I'm just going to test the stuff out, make sure everything works, which is the winch and then the light bar. So once I finish testing everything out, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about it. We'll recap on the bumper and what's so special about this and what made me do the switch. You're going to make sure to align this with the insertion there. Once it's inserted like that, now you can go ahead and use your wireless winch. This one is also corded, so In case you don't want to use the wireless, you can also just use the wire. I'm not going to use this because of course I wanted this winch for the wireless capability. Another cool thing about this thing is, say you guys are at night and you have to do a recovery or something like that, you're going to notice right here it says light. You go ahead and push it, and as you guys can see, it has a little flashlight. It's not crazy bright, but it is bright enough. Once you turn it on, if I was you guys, you can go ahead and adjust it as well. Now that we finished up with the installation, I do want to talk a little bit about this bumper. So first off, this thing looks awesome compared to the last one that I used to have. This one is of course going to be Ironman's new bumper, which is their Raid Stubby bumper. This thing does make the Jeep look a lot more aggressive, and it's just nice and stubby overall. So of course, the looks is kind of what I was going for, and this looks really, really good. Now, not only the looks, but what comes with this bumper is the best part about it. So with this specific bumper, it does allow a lot of options. What I mean by that is, first off, if your Jeep does have actual parking sensors with it, it's going to allow you to still run them. So if you see these brackets that I have in my hand, reason I didn't install them because I don't have parking sensors on this one, but these would allow you to install them. And then also what you're going to notice all along the bumper, there's going to be some black caps. That's where your parking sensors would actually go. You'd pop off the caps, insert them there, and it comes with like some other hardware to install it. So that's a cool option, at least for you guys. If you guys are trying to find a bumper to make your sensors still work, this is going to be your choice. Another cool thing about this bumper is there's going to be an option for you to either run a light bar or not. And the reason I say that is because if you remember when we installed this whole bar here with the light bar, I had to bolt it on. So now if you don't want to put a light bar on it, you just do not put the bolts on or anything like that, and you leave the caps, and it'll make it for a nice stubby bumper, just a super clean look. So if that's what you're trying to go for. Another cool thing about this is two things. Now, if you don't get a winch, you won't have to install that whole tray that we pre-installed, which is a little bit more work. But now if you do install one, as you guys can tell, you can't even tell that we have a winch on here. And with that being said, it's also going to come with a front license plate bracket, which I know most aftermarket bumpers, they do not come with that, but this bad boy does. So I don't know where my license plate is, so I can't visually show you guys, but this is basically where it would go. And the cool thing about it, why I say it hides the winch, is your plate would go in this section here, and this actually goes up, so whenever you do want to use your winch, then it shows. Then of course your plate would be here, then you could go ahead and put it down when the winch is not in use. So that'll make it just a nice sleek look. That way no one also steals your winch, because if they want to steal that thing, they're going to have to work for it. That's not easy. That's not like a regular bumper off a Jeep where it's up top and it's just 4 bolts and it comes off. Now this thing, they're going to have to work for it. Another cool option that comes with this bumper is going to be the red hooks, which is going to be brand new recovery points. So that way if someone ever needs to pull me out or anything like that, I have those as well. So this all around is just a good looking bumper and has a lot of options. So if you are looking for a bumper that has options and looks really, really good and is actually really affordable, because they've been having sales on these, make sure to check them out. I'll link them in the description box below. Now, if you guys do want a different style bumper, they do make different ones, so you can also check that out as well. Another thing about this company is, as far as their winch, I'm going to be throwing it on my Tacoma, which we're going to be doing a full how to install video on that one. It's going to be super in depth, so stay tuned. All right, so the last thing that I did want to touch on, once again, this is more based on the winch, is it's going to be wireless, or it could be wired as well. Unlike other winches out there, you know, they're corded, just like the one on my Tacoma. That's why I'm switching it out, because it's going to be wireless, and it comes with that cool little flashlight. So keep that in mind. And just in case you guys are curious on how to charge it, whenever you do connect it on, it charges that way. So keep that in mind. Now, for some of you guys, this may be a downside. For me, I don't care, because I do have these KCs right here. But you're going to notice we lost our fog lights. So yes, with this bumper, you are going to lose your fog lights. But now you could do this, what I'm going to do. So what I ended up doing is I took off the factory harness from the factory bumper. And then you're going to notice there is these other connectors. These ones are going to connect to these KCs that I have right here in my hand. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to find the spot here, and I'm actually going to drill into it somehow. I'm going to try to find a more discreet spot just so it looks a little cleaner, but that way I still have fog lights, but that are going to be super bright and plug and play. So overall, if you want it, once again, description box below. If you guys did enjoy today's video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
JesseRizo is here for you. Is here for you. feel free to subscribe.